Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Schultz, and I want to thank you for joining us today. Quick background on me. I've been working with 401k plan sponsors for over 20 years. Back in 1995, I started with Principal Financial Group, a direct provider of 401k plans that at the time administered more plans than anyone else in the country. It was a good training ground for me. From there, I founded First Texas Financial Services Corporation in 2000. First Texas is a full-service, multi-line insurance and financial services firm, and we were able to grow into a relevant force in the realm of benefits, investments, 401k for the DFW Metroplex. But 2 years ago, I pulled my 401k and wealth management business off First Texas and rebranded into an office in Mansfield, where we call ourselves Schultz Wealth. We're a standalone registered investment advisory firm where we focus exclusively on investment management as it relates to personal financial planning and 401k consulting. A few disclosures. We are a registered investment advisory firm. Therefore, we provide advice. But none of what I am going to talk about today should be construed as advice since we don't have a client service agreement in place. So the presentation today is broken up into two pieces. We will talk about how 401k plan success has been defined over the years, what I believe the definition of 401k plan success should be, and going forward. From there, we'll break into the four areas where we should focus our priorities. In the past, we did not define plan success in a meaningful way, or in many cases, we didn't define it at all. When first implemented, 401k plan success was defined by how much money the plan could save company sponsors. The 401k movement was touted as a boon for employees, allowing them for the first time to take control of their own destiny. But it turned out to be much more about saving employers money on their retirement plans. Compared to traditional defined benefit plans, 401ks on average saved as much as 85% in expenses when implemented. Of course, the problem with this definition as a savings to employers is that it does not measure the effectiveness of a plan. So over time, we found that the average American is woefully unprepared for retirement. And the shift from defined benefit plans to defined contribution 401k plans has certainly contributed to this unpreparedness. This is the problem we're facing when we get into the business of providing retirement benefits to our employees. Overall, what we are doing is not working. The shift from defined benefit plans to defined contribution plans, known as 401ks to most people, has left us with statistics like this that are playing out within the ranks of our companies. So employers continue to drive retirement plan savings to their bottom line, and plan costs to employees were largely ignored. During this period, regulators took note, and these heavy employee cost burdens led to a series of congressional changes, DOL rule promulgations, and class action lawsuits against plan sponsors for allowing the financial services industry to take advantage of their employees. The result has been a full pendulum swing to a new regulatory-based definition of plan success, that being that a plan is successful when it is least costly to its participants. But again, this does not measure effectiveness. The lowest cost providers generally provide the least amount of value, advice, support, and education. And this, of course, leads to a very poor plan that cannot meet the needs of its participants. Participant cost is very important, but only as it relates to the effect costs have on a participant's ability to retire. So in a race to the bottom line, and in lieu of real value, the industry has created a bunch of noise that distracts us from the real issues and lulls us into a false contentment. The quarterly reports that nearly all providers put together for you are fairly homogeneous and incredibly boring. These measurements, deferral rate, plan balance, website engagement by participants, etc., can be important, but in and of themselves, they do not really do anything for anybody. The real definition of plan success is about getting participants to the finish line, not how many times your employees have called the 1-800 number. Why have we missed this as the overriding goal? Well, part of the reason has to do with how plans are sold. In most cases, a broker or retirement plan specialist sells a plan using classic sales techniques. They will ask, what do you like or dislike about your current plan and vendors? And what would you improve about the service you receive? These questions lead to oversimplified answers that will generally revolve around ease of administration and other ways that vendors can, in essence, minimize your role as plan sponsor. So I want to challenge you today to realize easier is not always better. As a retirement specialist for over 2 decades, my experience has taught me that effective plans are not always easy, but they are incredibly rewarding beyond belief if done correctly. Helping your employees retire successfully takes intentionality, focus, prioritization, and effort, similar in many ways to the effort it takes to be successful in your core business efforts. Easier is not always better. So why is helping your employees retire so important and worthy of our efforts? Well, we now know that a healthy 401k plan means a healthy workforce. When employees see older employees actually retiring, they're able to understand and appreciate the steps their employer is taking to make their own retirement a reality. Loyalty and higher morale are, of course, the result. Being able to retire employees effectively keeps your workforce young as well. If the average age of your workforce drifts higher, it significantly increases compensation costs. More tenured employees demand a higher wage, right? And dramatically increases expenses related to healthcare and other health-related costs. It also impacts your company's future competitiveness because eventually your older employees will go away and leave a significant void. So with good retirement planning, you can replace your older employees in a more systematic and controlled fashion, securing your company's future, its value, and sustainability. When we use the right definition of success, it changes how we approach everything. Unfortunately, most plan sponsors, 401k brokers, and even the insurance companies and other providers are not thinking this way, and we find ourselves waiting in a quagmire of mediocrity. Plan costs are important, but not at the expense of competence. We all read and hear the concerns about fiduciary responsibility. Vendors will many times quantify their value to you by scaring you with the terrible consequences of not fulfilling your fiduciary responsibility to your participants, and how if you hire them, they will keep you out of trouble. Well, taking our fiduciary responsibility seriously is very important, and we, of course, want to avoid costly run-ins with the Department of Labor, just as we definitely want to avoid class action lawsuits from participants. But don't you think that's a pretty low bar of competence? Many of you are in regulated industries where serious consequences can occur if you're not diligent. If all you focused on was being compliant, you'd be out of business, right? The bar of success for your company is, of course, much higher than just regulatory compliance. And it should be no different for your 401k plan. When you really read all the rules, regulations, and lawsuits, I think what you discover is that the plans that ran afoul were not trying to be successful. Rather, they were trying to do the minimum to get by and demonstrated little to no care, oversight, or diligence. Besides, it's your fiduciary responsibility, not your vendors. Now, I'm a fiduciary advisor, and therefore I'm required, just like you, to do what's in the best interest of the participants. But I can't take away your responsibilities. If you run your plan in a way to drive retirement success for your participants, the rules and regulations should line up almost directly in your favor. Now, we'll talk a little bit later about the processes that provide simple documentation you need to be compliant. So to win, let's break our success plan into the 4 critical areas of plan administration and oversight. There is structure, intentionality, and engagement that must be part of every plan. This is our process. From good processes, the other critical areas flow. Now, every plan is different and guided by the plan document. So success means dusting off your plan document from time to time, knowing what's in it, and finally keeping it up to date with the options that are available and with the needs of your employees. And then, of course, on the investment side of things, it can really get ugly when we don't know what our definition of success is. If our goal is simply high quality and low cost funds, well, all we need to do is keep a stable of 4- and 5-star funds with reasonable costs for our participants. Easy, right? Wrong. Just having great low-cost funds does not translate into good participant investment performance. There's more to it if we were actually going to retire participants. And the problem is, most of your participants have no idea how to mix those funds together into a solid asset allocation strategy and stick with it. And we found through experience, the way the industry conducts participant education does not help matters. There's a better, more effective way, and we'll get to it later. But for now, let's talk about plan design a little bit. Used to be back over 20 years ago, when I was selling plans for Principal Financial Group, we would ask a very important question right up front to determine suitable plan design. Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner, is the primary objective of this retirement plan for the benefit of yourself, your key employees, or your rank and file? Well, I don't ask that question anymore. Today, we can easily build into the plan design enough flexibility to meet the retirement objectives of most participants, regardless of their ownership percentage or compensation level. Most of this is due to safe harbor provisions. Once safe harbor rules came about, we were able to get away from having to pass non-discrimination testing, and this opened up deferral limits for higher paid participants. Before, in many cases, if the rank and file were only contributing on average 2 or 3% of compensation, the highly compensated employees and owners would be limited to 4 or 5% of their own pay. But thanks to Safe Harbor, if you implement a qualifying, matching, or profit-sharing contribution that is fully vested to the participant, by the way, then this deferral limit goes away. Now, this is important because when we do retirement readiness testing in the plans we manage, you know what we find? In many plans, it's not the rank and file that are at risk of not having adequate retirement savings. It's your key employees, managers, and even owners that are in trouble. Why? Well, it's because of what we call the retirement gap. As this graph shows, the more you make, the less you can rely on Social Security to provide any more than an insignificant percentage of replacement of your pre-retirement income. Now, other features like catch-up contributions for those over age 50, age-weighted provisions, and Social Security integrations all allow those who need to dump large portions of money into retirement, either because they make a lot or maybe because they started late, to do so. Over time, your plan needs to continually evaluate and reevaluate what plan design features are best suited to your company. And if you don't keep up, you and your employees can miss out on key changes that continually evolve, like Roth provisions. The Roth provisions that are available in retirement plans are a very nice advanced planning tool for those who can benefit from Roth contributions. Does your plan have a Roth? If so, do your participants know about it? And did you know there is such a thing as an in-plan Roth conversion? In-plan Roth conversions are a phenomenal advanced planning tool, and you should be able to add it to your plan provisions. There's no reason not to. In summary, getting your rank and file employees retirement ready is one problem. Getting your owners and highly compensated retired is another, with its own unique challenges. Unlike just a few years ago, today, your plan can effectively meet the challenges of both without having to choose which one is more important. Now on to investments. This is where so many plans go astray. How many funds should you choose, and how do you choose them? Well, it used to be you would get a fund menu lineup from your provider. The menu would be pre-selected for you based upon the fee your provider and broker wanted to have pulled out of the fund expenses for themselves. Initially, in many cases, the funds were not mutual funds. Rather, they were group annuities with these charges built in and hidden in the chassis. Then more and more, we started seeing new fund share classes pop up, like R1, R2, R3, I, Class A load waived, etc. Confusing is an understatement. It takes a specialist hours to uncover, identify, and calculate for you what your costs are in all these different menus. Therefore, for someone unfamiliar with the territory, it's nearly impossible. All of this still exists in a big way, but fortunately, we don't have to play this game anymore if we don't want to. Regulatory pressure has moved open architecture investment options into the mainstream, along with the registered investment advisors who live, eat, and breathe in the open architecture, non-commission environment. As regulations have changed, more and more RIAs have entered the retirement plan space, and with them, the advisor-managed portfolio. The advisor-managed portfolio has become a centerpiece of most of our plans, whereby a participant gets the same professionally managed portfolio as the high net worth individual investors in our firm. No games, no conflicts, just solid investment allocations tailored specifically to your plan at a very low cost, free of commissions, conflicts of interest, and of course, no sales charges. Now, these are just a few of the great names in the defined contribution retirement plan space. But in order to have a successful plan, you need more than a great name. You need a fiduciary advisor to help you navigate. As an RIA, I don't compete with any of these folks, and I don't work for them either. I work for you to design an investment strategy that is free of any conflicts and tailored to meet the specific needs of your employees. You could take any one of these as an example. All of them are great companies and large 401k providers in the country. But if you work directly with any of them, they will steer you towards their own proprietary funds and/or other funds that are most profitable to their company. Now, you can't blame them. It's their job. However, this puts you, and not them, they do not have a fiduciary duty to your employees like you do, but it puts you in the hot seat, making you a target for class action lawsuits, regulatory fines, and of course, poor investment performance for your participants due to the higher costs. So do not let your vendor get in the way between you and your participants. With the fiduciary registered investment advisor on your team, we can manage the process and implement investments that are truly in the best interest of your participants. I love working with these large providers, but that's because I know their role and they know mine. With me operating as a fiduciary advisor on your plan, I navigate us through the traps to ensure we deliver a pure experience free of conflict and unnecessary expense. Now let's move on to participant education. Participant education is another place where we can get caught up in some inefficiencies. Participant education has developed over the years into a simpler, more realistic, and easier to understand format, fortunately. 20 years ago, we were coming into your break rooms with things like market updates, specific data on different mutual funds, and descriptions and tips on how to create your own asset allocation strategies. Investing was fun and easy back then. Anybody can make tons of money in the stock market. All you had to do is sign up, right? Well, wrong. 2 decades and 2 major market downturns later, most of your participants would not classify investing as fun or easy. So education today has evolved along with the investment options. We're now allowed to default participants into properly allocated funds on their behalf if they make no elections. In addition, we can provide a much more simplified decision for them using custom asset allocation portfolios or even target date funds pre-built to provide the required return at the appropriate risk level for their situation. To me, a good participant education program primarily provides employees with the tools they need to pick a deferral percentage and an allocation strategy that gives them the best chance at retiring. Secondarily, it highlights the generosity of their employer, the fiduciary care of the investment committee in securing their funds, and how important it is to never take loans or distributions. We need to get away from throwing fact sheets like this up on a screen and explaining what they mean. Participants don't care, and even if they did, few would understand what they were viewing. Your employees have their job, and I have mine. If they were interested in and had the aptitude for this kind of stuff, they'd be working for me. So in order to be effective, we have to take a different approach to education. Part of the education process is defining roles. As fiduciaries, you and I are responsible for providing solid investment options to the participants. Delivering those options in the form of portfolios instead of individual funds means we don't have to get stuck in the trees. With portfolios, it's very easy to describe the different options, how they will perform in comparison to each other, and which portfolio may be suitable to their specific situation. In addition to advisor-managed portfolios, target date funds are a great tool for delivering investments in an understandable and easy-to-use package. From a regulatory standpoint, they make the most sense as a qualified default investment election because the default election then takes into account the participant's age during selection. As they evolve, and I believe as regulations evolve, I think that target date funds will be one of the best answers to what lies ahead. With the new DOL fiduciary rule, even in its watered-down version, it somewhat mitigates the predatory behavior of banks and insurance companies. Because you see, the financial services industry has been making a killing off rollovers out of your retirement plans. And going forward, there may be a less of a monetary incentive for bank and insurance reps to do this as loaded mutual funds and variable annuities hopefully go away. Less pressure from salespeople to roll participants out of the plan means possibly more assets will remain in your plan. Is your plan prepared for this? Probably not. Let me illustrate how you can get there with the target date strategy. The newest, most innovative target date options are being delivered with their own retirement calculators now. In this example, the target fund in essence converts to 30-year treasuries at conclusion, so that makes the estimated income at retirement fairly accurate. Your employee can at any time enter their information into the calculator and see what kind of income in today's dollars they can expect in retirement. When they hit retirement, instead of rolling out of the plan, they simply sign up for a regular transfer of money from their fund to their checking account. Pretty simple. Can you see how preserving the assets in the plan will strengthen your offering? If we deliver quality investment solutions that fit, what reasons would a retired employee have to roll out? It should be clear by now that a successful plan is a process, not a destination. Things are always changing and need to be continually tweaked and improved. Too many plans fall into a trap of contentment, and next thing you know, 3 years have gone by and nothing has happened. A good plan has an annual flow to it that complements your operational needs and processes. For example, on one of my plans, we always do participant education in the winter because that's when they're slow. Everybody knows that's when participant education happens, so we plan accordingly. Every plan we have has a different flow to it that fits their organization. But here's some general processes and guidelines for keeping a plan humming. You should have a copy of the most recent and up-to-date plan document handy, either in a 3-ring binder or electronic format. I get calls and emails all the time from my clients asking how different situations should be handled. There's rarely a universal answer. It usually depends on what your plan document says, and every plan document is different. When amendments are made to your plan, make sure you update your reference copy. Your investment policy statement is an important document that should also be handy, referenced, and updated from time to time. It explains your plan's process for selecting investments, what they are, how you monitor them, and your committee's investment philosophy. It should not be a canned fill-in-the-blank template. Rather, it should be uniquely tailored to your plan. It is your investment advisor's job to write, maintain, and update your IPS as needed. Your investment committee should meet at least annually, and minutes need to be taken and documented for each meeting. Your investment advisor should take minutes and provide signed copies for your records. Now, in our office, we create workflows using the investment committee minutes as a guide. I think the workflow is critical to getting things accomplished and moving the ball down the field. You know, everyone is busy, and it's easy to forget those great ideas and initiatives that we talked about in committee. And it's embarrassing when nothing happens until the next year. It's your investment advisor's job to manage the workflow towards accomplishment over the course of the next year. In order to have a successful plan, you must have an active workflow. Without it, very little is accomplished between committee meetings. And then every few years, you must benchmark your plan. Benchmarking is your first line of defense against class action lawsuits and regulatory sanctions. Your benchmark can be completed by your investment advisor, or if he or she is a true fiduciary advisor. You can also hire a third party to benchmark the plan. On our larger plans, we'll engage a third party to run a full benchmark. On smaller plans, we'll usually do it ourselves. The DOL takes into account the size of your plan when determining what level of care you need to provide. A recent trend is retirement readiness and the reports that can be provided by your vendor to analyze an entire plan and come up with a retirement readiness score. These are great for tracking progress towards plan success. Still new, still a work in progress, but retirement readiness reports are definitely worth doing. So, as you can see, the pendulum continues to swing. Interestingly, 401k plans with default elections, automatic enrollment, customized portfolios, and cutting-edge target income funds, along with their accurate income calculators, are looking a lot different from what they were even just a few years ago. I think it's evident that your employees desperately need your help in securing their retirement. This is not just about opening a door of qualified incentives and saying, good luck. Your company's long-term success is directly tied to your ability to successfully retire employees when their time comes. And that takes work and commitment. Unfortunately, some vendors would much prefer that you leave everything to them. But ultimately, your plan is always your responsibility. Therefore, I would encourage you to partner with a fiduciary advisor who will work with you by your side to make things happen. And out of all of this, I think one of the most important things you can take away is the concept of running your plan in an annual workflow process. Now, tomorrow I'm heading over to Fort Worth for an investment committee meeting for a very large plan that we manage. It's exciting. We get to report the completion of all but one of our goals from last year's committee meeting. Because the CEO and CFO are engaged participants on the committee, we will have several action items to work on in the coming year. From the top down, they're committed to their retirement plan, and it shows in so many ways. Morale is high, employees feel good about their future, and are somewhat free of stress and that therefore allows them to be more productive. It's not easy. They're a demanding client. Things don't go always as planned, and of course, because large plans are very complex with lots of moving parts and coordination. But my team works hard to deliver valuable advice, insight, coordination all year long. And it's worth it because we're making a significant difference in the lives of those employees. The way the plan operates, the participants have a great opportunity to succeed in their retirement goals. And that's what it's all about. And the good news is that if they can do it, you can do it. And if you're not sure how to go about it, I'm here to help in any way I can. You don't have to fire any of your vendors to work with a fiduciary advisor. In most cases, we can take what you have, tweak it, create some workflows around the issues at hand, and improve your plan without reinventing the wheel. I appreciate your time, and if you ever do have any questions, feel free to contact me. Thank you.